What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving into the ultimate leveling kit for the 5th gen Ram 1500s. It's one of the most talked about topics, and I assure you by the end of this video, your search will be put to rest. Now, you might ask, what makes this the ultimate leveling kit? Well, we're going to dive into all those reasons right now. But the biggest reason is that it is the most complete, best riding system out there for the price point. Now, throughout the video, you're going to hear me talk about different types of shock valving. So in case you don't know, we're going to get all of that out of the way right now. So we've got 3 different types of shock valving. So we've got digressive, linear, and progressive. Digressive being the stiffest valving, linear being the sweet spot between soft and firm, and then finally progressive, which is going to be the softest valving. So what I have here is the Eibach Protruck Stage 2R, and the R meaning reservoir. So the rear shocks are going to have this external reservoir on it, which holds more fluid, which will keep the shock cooler and resist shock fade. And it's going to be good for the guy doing higher speed off-roading, but it is also linear valved, and we'll get into all that later. But this shock is linear valve, so it is going to ride slightly softer on road versus the standard Protruck Stage 2, which is just going to be your standard 2.0 monotube shock without the external reservoir. And that shock is actually going to be digressive valve, so that's going to be good for the guy who's towing, as it is a more firm valving. So that is the rear shock on the Protruck Stage 2R. Now, going back to the standard Protruck Stage 2, you're going to get everything you see here. You're going to get the rear progressive rate springs. You're going to get the front adjustable coilovers. You're going to get that standard monotube like I just talked about without the external reservoir. And that Protruck Stage 2 non-R kit is still a fantastic upgrade over the factory setup. So now for the meat and potatoes, and the reason as to what makes this kit the best kit for your money, starting off with these 2R rear shocks. I just went into some detail about them. So depending on the kit you get, whether you're going to get the Eibach Protruck Stage 2 or the 2R, like I mentioned earlier, these are linear valves. They're going to ride a little bit softer than the 2.0 monotube shock. And it's going to give you a better ride in all sorts of driving conditions. And up front, we've got this beautiful coilover, fully adjustable with the supplied spanner wrench. This is going to have your progressive rate spring. This shock valving is digressive, but they use linear shimming in this shock to give you a better on-road ride and resist that firmness that you get with the digressive valving. So it is probably the best mixture of soft and firm. You're going to have a softer on-road ride, but once you start hitting those washboard roads or hitting those big bumps in the road, that digressive valving is going to kick in, and it's going to keep the truck nice and steady and planted. So like I said, with the digressive valving, but the linear shimming and the progressive spring, it's really a fantastic mixture of everything. And it's going to give you a much better on-road ride and full control when you need it. And finally, as far as adjustability goes, so these guys right here can be adjusted up to 3.2 inches. Now with the Protruck Stage 2 and 2R kit, you really don't want to go higher than 2.5 inches. 2.6 give or take on the truck, or else your front will be sitting a little higher. One thing I do want to mention is that when Eibach engineered this coilover, they actually tested these coilovers in all sorts of different heights, and they came up with the best max height setting that did not sacrifice ride quality. So with this shock, you can actually turn this collar all the way up and get the max 3.2 inches of advertised height out of it without sacrificing ride quality, which is pretty cool, because most other systems out there, once you start adding more and more preload, it really hurts the ride quality. Not in this case. So really awesome engineering on Eibach's behalf. And then moving on to the rear springs. So these are going to be 1 inch taller progressive rate rear springs. I run these now. They are really, really awesome. Super soft, much beefier than the factory spring. Unfortunately, I don't have a factory spring to show you a comparison, but when you buy this kit and you take those factory springs out and you put these things in, you're gonna be like, holy smokes. So another really awesome thing is that they do come with these sleeves. So the coils that are closer together, they're not going to bang and make noise like some other coils of the likes will do without adding these coil sleeves. Now here at Hammer Performance, we can build this kit many different ways. We can go with just the front coilovers if you don't want to touch the back at all. And again, with all that adjustability, you can level the front and keep the back stock. Or we can add in the standard 2.0 monotube shocks, or we can go with the 2R shocks, or of course we can go with the full-blown Protruck Stage 2 or Stage 2R. So it is pretty cool that Eibach gives us an option to buy everything individually if the customer wanted to. So with all of that information out of the way, if none of that info answers your question as to why this is the ultimate leveling kit, here's more reasons. So I mentioned the price point. Currently, the Protruck Stage 2 non-R kit is $1,408. If we bump up to the Stage 2R, we're in the $1,650 price range currently. But you will not find a better, more complete system that rides as good as this does and that has all of these features for the price point. It just doesn't exist. Now, where this kit really shines above the rest is most leveling kits out there only have front-end suspension upgrades. So whether you buy a leveling kit that uses a strut spacer, be it a top hat spacer or a preload spacer, you're only getting front end suspension upgrades. It's not going to come with rear shocks. It's not going to come with rear springs. Those are all things that you're going to need to add extra after the fact. Now, if you go with a better option like an adjustable strut, non-threaded body, so most other kits out there are going to be adjustable with a circlip. Those still don't come with any rear suspension upgrades. And if you go that route, not only are you going to have to add in some rear shocks, maybe some rear springs or a spacer, depending on how high you set that shock to, but that shock is not going to come ready to be bolted in. So if you go that route, more than likely, you're going to have to take apart your factory struts, transfer all the parts over to that new adjustable strut, and it's just much more labor intensive. Whereas with this kit, it literally comes just like this, ready to be bolted in the truck. Another disadvantage of going with the leveling strut that is adjustable with a circlip is that in order to adjust your height, if you ever want to go higher or for whatever reason you want to go lower, that requires you to take the whole front end of your truck apart, take the whole shock apart, adjust that circlip to your height setting, put everything back together, put it all back in the truck. Just much more labor intensive versus this setup right here, which can literally be adjusted with everything bolted in the truck. Jack the truck up with the supplied spanner wrench, turn this collar up or down depending on if you want to go higher or lower, and you're done. Set the truck back down. So there's no need to break anything apart. It is literally as easy as that. Another disadvantage of going with one of those shocks with an adjustable circlip is the fact that it utilizes your factory strut parts. So you're going to have to use your factory spring. Now that factory spring is not rated for the preload that is being put on that spring to generate your lift. So it is going to ride much more firm, way more firm than this setup will, because you have that factory spring that has that preload on it that is not designed to have. Versus this right here, which comes with the spring that is engineered to have the preload it has on it to ride the best. So there's really zero negatives to this setup at all. It is a fantastic upgrade over factory. It comes with everything you need to get a really nice and smooth symmetrical ride all the way around. So just a quick rundown of this kit. And the features, you're going to get this fully adjustable coilover. You're going to get your choice of rear resi shocks or the rear monotube non-resi shocks. And then both kits are going to come with the 1-inch taller progressive rate rear springs. And of course, the biggest benefit, like I just went over, it comes fully assembled, ready to be bolted in the truck. There's no having to take anything apart. Just the labor intensity is not there compared to other leveling options out there. And finally, the price point. Really, really hard to beat the price for what you get. Now, lastly, upper control arms are something that we definitely want to add. There's many different avenues that we can go with that. The factory composite arms are just not made to handle the angle that these are going to put on that ball joint. But when you do order this kit, we'll go over all of the upper control arm options. So that is going to do it for the overview. So once the installation is complete, we're going to take this thing for a drive and see how nice this kit rides. So if you guys like what you see, the link for this kit will be down below. But you can also reach me at trevork@hpbuilt.com, and we can get you set up with this kit and some upper control arms as well. All right, so we've got everything installed, and I am driving on this road that's got some pretty gnarly bumps in it, and I can tell right off the bat these are a huge improvement over the previous setup. So, I mean, night and day difference right off the bat, and this is actually a pretty good road to test the difference on because it's got some pretty bad bumps, but it's just cruising right over them much better. It's much more planted, doesn't hop all over the place like it did before. So that is how fast you're gonna notice a difference, whether you're going from stock to the setup or if you're going from another setup to this setup, more specifically a strut spacer or a different type of strut setup. that's digressive valved. So obviously with the way that these shocks are valved and the progressive springs, it's going to be a softer ride. That's a given. But the whole point of this video is, you know, how good this system rides for the price you pay for it. So that is going to conclude this video, guys. There's really not much to see here other than just me talking. But like I said, once you guys get this system installed, you'll see for yourself right off the bat that is a big improvement. So we're going to get out, see how the truck sits.